And that is exactly why I will never, ever trust a GPS in the mountains again. I'm telling you, Stephanie, we were literally one wrong turn away from being a permanent part of the landscape.
John, you are being so dramatic. We made it home. But I have to admit, seeing you white-knuckle that steering wheel, I haven't seen you that stressed since the kids tried to help you mow the lawn.
Hey, that was a close call. We escaped by the skin of our teeth, which, fun fact, and a perfect bridge into today, is actually the theme of our reading.
Wait, really? You're telling me that's a Bible verse?
It is. Job chapter 19, verse 20. But man, when Job says it, he isn't talking about a close call on a curvy road. He's talking about being at the absolute final limit of human endurance.
And we are back. Welcome to the Deeper Dive community. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm John. We're making the Bible easier to understand, one day at a time. And today, man, Job 19 through 21. It's heavy. It's visceral. It's basically the ancient version of being canceled by every single person in your contact list.
It really is. I was doing the research on this, and the historical context here is so heartbreaking. You have to remember, Job is living in this patriarchal, nomadic era. Think Abraham and Isaac vibes. In that world, your social media was your physical community. If they turned on you, you didn't just lose followers, you lost your life, your safety, your identity.
Right? No block button, just actual physical rejection. And Stephanie, the way Job describes it in chapter 19, he uses this imagery of a social siege.
Yes, that part was so powerful. He says God has walled up his way so he can't pass. He feels like he's being treated like a city under attack. But John, did you catch the irony in the text?
Oh, you mean the tent versus city thing?
Exactly. Job says God's troops encamp all around my tent. Think about that. God is sending this massive cosmic army to surround a humble little tent. It's like using a sledgehammer to swat a fly. It's total overkill.
That is a heavy image. It's the feeling of, why me? Why is all of this happening to me right now? And then the ghosting starts. Stephanie, walk us through that list of people who walked out on him. It's brutal.
It's everyone, John. Seriously. He starts with his close relatives and intimate friends. They've moved far away. But then it gets domestic. He says his servants treat him like a stranger. Imagine that. The people who live in your house, who you've provided for, now look at you like you're a trespasser.
And then the big one, his wife.
Yeah. He says his breath is offensive to her. In that culture, that's more than just a bad smell. It's total repulsion. The most sacred bond he has is fractured because he's physically and spiritually unclean in her eyes.
I mean, imagine if that happened today. You lose your job, your health goes, and suddenly you're getting seen, but not replied to by your own family. Even the young children despise him.
Right. He says he arises to speak, and they mock him. In the ancient Near East, respect for elders was the bedrock of society. For the kids to laugh at him, that means his legacy is gone. He's been erased before he's even dead.
It's a total social blackout. And this is where that skin of my teeth line comes in. He's so emaciated, so broken, that he says he's escaped only by the skin of his teeth. Now, Steph, you're the word nerd. What are the scholars actually arguing about here? Because, last time I checked, teeth don't have skin.
Well, neither did Job's, apparently. It's a bit of a linguistic mystery. Some scholars think it refers to the enamel on the teeth, meaning he survived by a hair's breadth. Others think he means his gums, that the disease took everything except the flesh holding his teeth in.
Gross. But effective.
It's very visceral. There's even a theory that Satan specifically spared his mouth and tongue so that Job would have the physical ability to curse God. It's like, I'll take your health, your kids, and your friends, but I'll leave you your voice so you can scream at the sky.
But here's the deal, and this is the bottom line for segment 1. Job doesn't use that voice to curse. He uses it to make the most incredible demand for justice. He wants his words inscribed in a book or graven with an iron pen in the rock forever.
He's basically saying, I might be a tent surrounded by an army and I might be ghosted by my wife, but I am putting my testimony on the blockchain of history. It's never going away.
The blockchain of history. I like that. He's demanding a permanent record because he knows he's innocent. He's barely hanging on, just a skeleton with gums. but he's still standing his ground.
It's that end of your rope feeling. But instead of letting go, he's tying a knot and hanging on for dear life. And what he says next. John, it's the pivot point of the whole book.
It really is. But before we get to the big "I know that my Redeemer lives" moment, we need to take a quick breather.
Yeah, let's grab some water. When we come back, we're going to talk about the goel, the legal advocate Job is calling out for, and how that concept bridges the gap from the desert dust all the way to, well, to us.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Oh, okay. I'm back. I'm caffeinated, and I am ready to talk about the greatest legal maneuver in the history of the universe.
You've been waiting all morning to say that, haven't you? And we're back, by the way. If you're just joining us, we've been looking at Job's social cancellation in chapter 19. But now, John, we're shifting from the ghosting to the advocate.
Yes, because Job says something in verse 25 that should be impossible. He says, "For I know that my Redeemer lives." Now, Steph, in our deeper dive style, we've got to dumb this down for a second. Because Redeemer is one of those stained glass words we use in church, but it actually has a very specific, gritty, legal meaning in the ancient Near East.
It really does. The Hebrew word is goel, and in Job's world, a goel was your kinsman redeemer. They weren't just a distant cousin who sent you a card once a year. This was the person in your family whose literal job it was to fix your life when it fell apart.
Exactly. Think of it like the family fixer or the ultimate legal aid. If you lost your land because you were broke, the goel bought it back. If you had to sell yourself into slavery to pay a debt, the goel paid the ransom to get you out. And here's the intense part. If you were murdered, the goel was the one who hunted down the person responsible to get justice.
But John, here's the heartbreak for Job. Think about his situation. His sons? Dead. His brothers and cousins? They've moved away. He is literally the only person left in his family tree who could have filled that role, and he's sitting on a dung heap scraping his skin with a piece of pottery. He has zero human kinsmen to stand up for him.
Right. He's looking at his followers count, and it's at 0. He's got no legal representation. But then, and this is the modern mirror I love, Job does something genius. He basically calls for a divine blue check mark.
Wait, explain that. How is a redeemer a blue check mark?
Okay, think about it. In a world of fake news, deep fakes, and everyone accusing you of things you didn't do, what is that little blue check mark? It's verification. It's the platform saying, this person is who they say they are. Their story is the official one. Job is essentially saying, the world has unverified me. They've flagged my account as fraudulent. But I know my goel, my official verifier, is alive. And at the last, he will stand on the earth and put that check mark back on my name.
That is such a powerful way to look at it, because Job isn't just asking for a hug, he's asking for a witness. He says he wants his Redeemer to stand on the earth. In a court of law, you stand to give testimony. He's imagining a trial where everyone is yelling, guilty, and his goel stands up and says, actually, I have the receipts. He's innocent.
And here's the kicker. Job's goel is him. He is him. You know how the Gen Z kids use that phrase? He is him, meaning he's the one. He's the top G. He's built different. Job is saying God is built different because even though Job thinks God is the one attacking him, he also knows God is the only one who can save him. It's a total paradox.
It's so true. It's like he's appealing to the Chief Justice to defend him against the prosecutor, even when the prosecutor is the Chief Justice. And John, did you notice how Job describes his hope for the future? He says, after my skin has been thus destroyed, yet in my flesh I shall see God.
Man, that is primordial faith. Think about it. This is thousands of years before the New Testament. Job doesn't have a leather-bound ESV with cross-references. He doesn't know about the empty tomb yet. But he has this unshakable gut feeling that death isn't the final cancellation. He believes that even if he turns into dust, his goel is so powerful that he can pull him back together for a face-to-face meeting.
It's the now but not yet aspect of the gospel that we see later in the New Testament. It's that feeling of anxiety in the moment where everything feels like a ruin, but trusting that the algorithm of grace is working in the background to make things whole.
And for our listeners today, if you're feeling like Job, if you're feeling like you've been shadow banned by life, if you're looking at your bank account or your health and it looks like a dumpster fire, Job is your guy. Because the bottom line is this. Your Goel isn't just some historical figure. He's alive. He's active. He's your legal advocate right now in the middle of your mess.
I love that. And for those of us who know the rest of the story, we see that Jesus is that ultimate Goel. He became our near kinsman by becoming human. He paid the ransom price, not with gold or Bitcoin, but with his own blood. He didn't just stand on the earth. He died in the dirt so we could stand with him.
Not with Bitcoin. I like that. We should put that on a t-shirt. But seriously, it's that connection. Job had the shadow of the Redeemer, but we have the full 4K reality. We know the Redeemer's name.
It really changes the way you read these chapters, doesn't it? To see Job shouting into the dark and realize that someone was actually listening the whole time.
It does. But man, the friends? They are not happy about Job's breakthrough. Zophar is about to come back with some junk food theology that is just... it's wild.
Oh, Zophar. He just can't let it go. He hears Job talking about a redeemer, and he's like, nope, let me tell you about the cobra venom in your stomach.
Yeah, we're going to get into the sweetness of evil and why some people seem to thrive while they're doing wrong. It's the algorithm of injustice in chapter 21.
We'll dive into all of that right after this final break. Stick with us.
Be right back. And we are back. Seriously, Stephanie, I think Zophar is actually the most frustrating person in the entire Bible.
He's definitely in the top 5. Welcome back, everyone. We're in the home stretch of today's reading, Job 20 and 21. And if chapter 19 was Job's mountaintop moment of faith, chapter 20 is Zophar trying to pull him back into the pit with a lecture on the karma of the wicked.
Right. Zophar is basically agitated in his spirit. He tells Job, "My anxious thoughts inspire me to answer." In other words, Job, you insulted my theology, and now I'm triggered. And his whole argument is that the triumphing of the wicked is short. He's convinced that if you're a bad person, your success is a glitch in the system that God is about to patch.
And he uses this incredible and honestly kind of gross analogy about junk food. John, you have to read this part. It's verse 12.
Though evil is sweet in his mouth and he hides it under his tongue, yet his food in his stomach turns sour. It becomes the venom of cobras within him. Man, that is the ultimate modern mirror for a Friday night at 2 a.m.
Exactly. It's the sugar-coated poison pill. Zophar is saying that sin tastes like a sweet morsel while you're rolling it under your tongue. It's that dopamine hit of a successful lie or an unethical win. But then, boom, the digestion starts. It turns into gall of asps. You end up vomiting up the riches you swallowed.
It's a vivid way of describing how unethical success rots you from the inside out. But here's the problem with Zophar's logic. He's looking at Job, a man who has lost everything, and saying, "See, you're suffering, so you must have eaten the poison." He's forcing the reality to fit his theory.
And that is exactly where Job snaps in chapter 21. He finally says, "Okay, guys, enough with the Sunday school answers. Let's look at the real world." And John, this is where Job gets very realist. He asks the big question, why do the wicked live and reach old age and grow mighty in power?
This is the algorithm of injustice. Job looks around and sees people who hate God, people who say, "Depart from us. We don't want your ways." And yet, their bulls breed without fail. Their children are established. Their houses are safe from fear.
It's like the verified influencer who is openly toxic but keeps getting brand deals. Job is pointing out that, in the short term, the algorithm of life often promotes the loud, the proud, and the wicked, while the righteous are stuck in the shadow ban of suffering.
He even points out how they die. Zophar said the wicked die in agony. But Job says, actually, I see them go to the grave in full vigor, wholly at ease and secure. He uses this Hebrew imagery of pails full of milk and marrow moist in the bones. They are healthy, wealthy, and peaceful, right until the end.
And did you catch the part about the funeral? Job says the wicked man is carried to the grave with a vigil kept over his tomb. He says, the clods of the valley are sweet to him, meaning, even in death, they get the VIP treatment, the big monument, the long procession, the public praise.
It's a total deconstruction of hustle culture and meritocracy. Job is saying that you cannot look at someone's bank account or their health and know they're standing with God. Success is not a like from heaven, and suffering is not a block from the Almighty.
It's such a heavy realization. Job basically looks at Zophar and says, How then will you comfort me with empty nothings? Your answers are just falsehood. He refuses to accept a lie just because it's theologically tidy.
And that, right there, is why we love Job. He is brutally honest with God. He'd rather wrestle with the mystery than settle for a fake answer. And for us today, living 4,000 years later, the takeaway is the same. Sometimes the wicked win on earth. Sometimes the algorithm doesn't make sense.
But, and here is the text message summary, God's character is greater than your current metrics. Just because you can't see the why doesn't mean the Redeemer isn't living.
God's character is greater than your metrics. That's the tweet. Seriously, though, if you're in a season where it feels like the clods of the valley are only sweet for the people doing wrong, remember Job. He didn't have the answers, but he had the goel. And in the end, that was enough.
So well said. Let's close this out in prayer. Lord, we thank you that you are a God who handles our big, messy questions. Thank you that even when the world feels unfair, our Redeemer lives. Help us to trust your heart when we can't see your hand. Amen.
Thanks for hanging out with us in the ruins today. We'll see you tomorrow as we keep diving deeper.
Bye, everyone.